Hi everyone. So I wanted to talk about what's been happening energetically for me this week, and I feel like it's happening for quite a few people with the full moon and the eclipse and just the energies. So right before I was gonna make this video, a friend of mine posted on Facebook a quote, and it said, "Doctors study medicine, teachers study education, and healers study darkness." And it's a quote by Phil Good. And I just thought that was perfect because that was basically what I was going to talk about. This week has been dark, a lot of dark energy for me, and a lot of old programming and an old MO, which for me was depression for so many years. And I feel like, if your MO has been anxiety, it'll show up that way. If you have panic attacks, it'll show up that way. For other people, it's anger. And I think that it seems that these old stories, the old programming, the old MOs are coming up to process in a different way. Not necessarily that, we have to get rid of it in the same way or heal it or do anything with it besides experience it and have a new conversation with it. So often when our old programming comes up, we feel like we have to do something to fix it, to eliminate it, to make it better and to get back to good. And one of the things that I noticed this week was I had no tolerance for, the love and light and the happy, loving, go lucky jargon. And it was different. It wasn't like I was judging it. It was that this week was meant to do something else. And the invitation that I had was to dive into the darkness, but dive into it with love, with celebration of self, with a new conversation. And so, although the darkness was threatening to take me down and consume me like depression used to, it didn't feel the same. And I felt like I'm not that same person, but that it was inviting me to dance with it. And so, just like a passionate tango, I accepted it because I think that that's the point, is nothing is meant to be one way all the time. And I looked at it as a tango instead of a sweet waltz or a raging thunder and lightning storm or tornado or tidal wave, instead of just calm peace. And so I definitely felt that resistance to things that were just wanting to stay calm, and it was in a different way than usual. It just felt like this week was the place to storm and rage and come alive in the darkness that has always seemed to limit me. And so, in accepting the invitation, I was able to really dive into the darkness with love and with self-acceptance, and from a place of exploring, from a place of really getting to know what it's like in this space that I've called depression for so long. And when I did that, it was actually really beautiful, and I felt something huge shift. I actually even felt my perspective changed so much that I felt like the earth was moving around me, and I don't know how to explain that other than I just felt like I was almost being lifted up and shifted around. And there's a hummingbird flying around my head. So when I went into it from a place of love and exploratory curiosity, I started feeling the elements of the depression and the anger and the rage and the agitation and everything that I was feeling. And I started likening it to elements of water, of fire, of earth. And and it just was showing me, it started showing me the different elements, and I could see the depression being like the earth when it devours something that is dead and no longer alive, and it just kind of it devours it and it changes it. And I could see the fire elements, I could feel the fire elements. It was teaching me the power that lies underneath our old MOs, our old ways of being, and the darkness, you know. And I believe that, you know, when depression used to come up for me, it felt like I didn't have a choice. I felt like it didn't have anything good for me. It just took me down. It held me in limitation. And what I saw this time is that it was by the resistance of that depression that I felt limited. It was by the judgment of it. It was by the trying to push it away and trying to ignore it that I was actually contracting myself. And I believe that every single mental disorder and every single disease and every single thing that feels painful to us, I believe that there is a power in it, and that it's inviting us to dance with it instead of being afraid of it. It's inviting us to come alive with it and have an interaction with it until we can see what it has to share with us, what it has to say to us. And when we come from that space, it can actually be enlivening. It can actually be a bit frightening, maybe, because it feels so raw, because it feels so powerful. But just like thunder, when we just experience it innocently, then it can be something beautiful. So that's what happened this week, and I really got to see, or experientially, I got to feel the power under the depression, and it was able to release and come out subtly within me. And it felt like an aspect of myself had been freed to come out and play. And so it's still integrating, but it just felt like a very beneficial breakthrough to see that these old stories and old programs are coming up for a lot of us, so that we can study the darkness, study the dark, and go into it without it consuming us, without us being victim to what it does. If we're going to dance with it, then we have a say, and we get to move with it, and we get to bring out the expression of it. And when we do that, creation gets to express itself through us in that. So this is what I've been going through this week, and if some of you can relate, I'd love to hear your comments under this video, or visit me at michellemira.com. And I just thank you for joining me in my journey, and for being bold, and for being brave, and for being persistent in your own journey here. So much love to you.